Hi, my name is Marcus Freitas and I'm a professor of Law and International Relations at Fundacao Armando Alvares Penteado, FAAP, in Sao Paulo, Brazil. I previously spoke to you and I addressed the topic of the Brazilian pre-salt layer, oil layer, and how it impacted the Brazilian economy in the future and its positioning as a global player. Today I wanted to address a topic that has been all over the news, and I have written extensively about it, but I have not yet commented over the internet. And the topic is the situation that Brazil is facing currently in Honduras. And the reason for that, as you might recall, started with the so-called coup d'etat of President Manuel Zelaya, and the situation that has developed ever since. As you may recall, President Zelaya wanted to add a fourth ballot in the elections. And the purpose that he wanted to have by doing this was to set up a mechanism where eventually he could be re-elected and he would have this referendum. And the fear was that President Zelaya could eventually become, in Honduras, what President Hugo Chavez represents for Venezuela. We have noticed over the last years, particularly in Latin America, that there is this so-called abuse of the democratic clause or abuse of democracy. And how is that done? Presidents get elected, they start giving social benefits to the people, and they start establishing their own political basis that will eventually keep re-electing them over time, and as a result of that, they stay in power for much longer than ever expected. So this abuse of democracy is currently an issue that started in Venezuela, has spread to Ecuador, Bolivia, and Honduras was a country that was in line for that to happen. The issue that we have there is that, fortunately, the Honduran constitution establishes that a president that seeks to stay in power for more than 4 years is a traitor to the nation, and he should be removed. What we see there is that, differently from Brazil and the United States, Honduras unfortunately has not developed an impeachment mechanism like it works in the U.S. and Brazil and some other nations in the world that adopt the presidential system. The issue then there is that when we look from the legal viewpoint, the procedure was correct. The Supreme Court had ruled, the legislative power had agreed, and the military were in charge of taking care of this issue. The problem there was the manner in which it was done. By getting the president out of his home in the middle of the night when he's wearing pajamas did not go very well with the international public opinion. And the Honduran government hasn't been able to defend itself in the way it should. And there is another issue that we should consider there too, is the fact that the military, when they took over, they actually handed the power to a civilian, and this changes the nature of the situation in Honduras. I cannot say that it was effectively a coup d'etat as we were used to in the past in Latin America. The issue there is that by having this taking place in Honduras, Brazil got involved when President Zelaya, all of a sudden, apparently without the knowledge of the Brazilian authorities, he showed up at the Brazilian embassy and seeking a different kind of asylum. Because usually an asylum is you go to an embassy, you're trying to run away from the government, and then you go elsewhere, and from there you want to live elsewhere, and that's why you seek the protection of the embassy of that country. This is not the case in Honduras. The case in Honduras is a president that actually sought some sort of asylum, but to enter the country. And this made the whole situation really different and really complicated for the Brazilian government. Up to that point, things were running okay, but when President Zelaya went to the Brazilian embassy, started using that as a podium for his political agenda, then the Brazilian government started having a problem. And what are the implications there? I did write recently that I think that this was a major trap set up by President Hugo Chavez. And how is that? No matter the result, the Brazilian government will be affected in its position and in its pursuit as a regional power. If Zelaya is reinstated and he's a poor president, which is going to happen necessarily based on his past experience, Brazil will be the country that supported a bad governor and also one who has abused democracy. If he is not reinstated, then Brazil is a weak country that hasn't been able even to use its power and its influence to seek that the situation is solved in the best manner and the best way that is possible. So I think that it was a trap set up by President Chavez very smartly to affect the relationship that Brazil has with the other countries in the region, particularly the United States. And this is one of the issues that I think we should always consider too. By intervening in the region, like Brazil did, I'm not saying that intervention is not part of our agenda. It should be part of our agenda, but we should be, as a country, able to choose wisely where we wanted to interfere and where we did not want to. And I think that Brazil changes its perspective from being a moderate country and become more of an interventionist country, particularly in a region that historically has had some major issues with intervention. And I think that this should serve as a warning for Brazil in its pursuit to become a global power of what it may expect from countries and from competitors from outside the region and mostly from within the region. And one other issue that I am concerned about is that this has raised some anti-American feeling, not only in Latin America, but also in Brazil. And this is not a correct thing for the country to do. Particularly, we see China getting closer to the United States. And I believe Brazil should leave a few of these anti-American feelings to ensure that the countries work together. And how can that be done? More research and development should be done between those two nations. More economic integration, even though the situation in the United States is a little complicated at the moment, I do believe that the American people will be able to ensure that this crisis, they go through this crisis without being affected tremendously in their role in the future. I think those two countries, Brazil and the United States, should become the essential key players in the new world order that we have set up for the 21st century. Why? Because the U.S. Has a lot to give to Brazil and can receive a lot from this partnership. Manuel Zelaya should not be seen as a major issue to our agenda. It is a problem, it will get solved, it will cause problems, it will raise the image, it will damage a little the image of Brazil, but it should not be an impediment to the development of the relationship that Brazil has with the United States. I do believe, however, that this is a good sign for President Chavez to realize that in Latin America, his power and his staying power has found one little country, Honduras, that can serve as an example of resistance to the socialism of the 21st century. Thank you very much, and I'll look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you.